Okay, everybody seems to be agreeing with everybody. That's working, that's working, that's working, that's working. Let's get this show on the road. I'm going to be reading from a script, and if there's echo, I did my best to get rid of it. I'm working on it. Here we go. My nose is a bit stuffy for some reason. Hi boys and girls, it's me Butch. My name is Terry David Silvercloud. I'm not native, it just sounds that way. I'm 77 years old, I make videos, and I'm working my painting skills in my old age. I live alone in South Vancouver, Canada. When I was about 30 years old, I decided, for reasons that make not a lot of sense, to become an artist. I had no training and never drew nor painted, but how hard could it be? Now I'm 77 and I've learned a lot in my old age. I grew up playing cowboys and Indians in the 1940s and 50s when little kids ran around outside with cap guns. Yep, kids ran around with fake guns and wandered blocks from home without parental oversight. Western movies were still popular, and I grew up thinking the horse was part of native culture. Turns out I was not well informed. The iconic image of the war-painted Plains Indian chasing down buffalo or U.S. soldiers on horseback, rifle raised at full gallop, belongs to a surprisingly short period of Native American history. The full flowering of Plains Indian horse culture lasted little more than a century, roughly from the 1750s to the 1870s, when it was ended by the Indian Wars and forced relocation to reservations. Indian dogs were soon replaced by European breeds. The dogs used by Indians before the Europeans arrived basically tamed wolves. They were basically tamed wolves and were used for all kinds of things. Their hair was used to weave clothing and they pulled loads. They were used for food. They were also used for food. I screwed up there. Horses arrived as early as Christopher Columbus, but none were let free until about 1510, when several seemed to have been released because it may have been too difficult to ship them back to Spain. What happened to those horses is not known, but horses would soon thrive in North America. The mistake of releasing horses didn't repeat. The Spanish quickly realized that the last thing they wanted was for the Indians to have horses because that would put them on an equal footing, but that's exactly what happened following the Pueblo Uprising of 1680. After enduring a century of harsh Spanish rule, the otherwise peaceful Pueblo Indians violently drove the Spanish from Santa Fe and captured their prize horses, which they then traded with neighboring tribes. Horses would soon spread through the Central Plains and eastwards. I thought I'd bring this bit of information to you and introduce you to some really great art, even if it is a romantic version of reality. Frank McCARTHY, American artist, 1924 to 2002. Frank McCARTHY knew from an early age that his passion was art, copying from his favorite comic strips. Encouraged by his parents and art teachers, he enrolled at 14 in New York's Art Students League, studying first under George Bridgman and then under Reginald Marsh. After high school graduation, he studied for 3 years at Brooklyn's Pratt Institute with a major in illustration. Following his studies, McCarthy embarked on his art career as a commercial illustrator in New York City. He painted illustrations for most of the paperback book publishers, magazines, movie companies, and advertisements. He created works that became posters for such movies as the James Bond series. Frank McCarthy's talents were highly sought after by art directors, enabling him to work as a freelance illustrator for many years. His art career spanned over 50 years, beginning with a request for a Western cover for a magazine by an art director. He left the world of commercial art in 1968 and began his fine art career after moving to Arizona.